All right, gosh, free speech has been in the news hugely of late. With Graham Linehan, who's been a guest on this show, his arrest in the UK for putting something on X. We now have Charlie Kirk, who I think some would say is a free speech advocate, even though he's associated with MAGA, shot very seriously in the United States this morning in Utah, and many of you, I know, watching that issue closely. And back in New Zealand, some submissions from the Law Commission on the proposed hate speech laws. And I think they've gone largely unnoticed, but boy, they were quite sort of interesting. So I thought we'd have a little bit of a free speech wrap up with our friends from the Free Speech Union, the champions of free speech in New Zealand. Jillaine Heather joins us by video link again. Jillaine, how are you? Nice to see you.
Good morning, Sean. I'm well. Thank you for having me again.
All right. Now, firstly, Graham Linehan. Boy, that attracted like global attention, didn't it? And it's interesting to think back 5 or 6 years that he is now, to my perception, the hero, not the outsider. Something has changed globally in the debate on freedom of speech, hasn't it?
I'm very sorry that Graham had to go through this terrible ordeal, being met at the airplane with armed police, being arrested, etc. But I think I agree with you. Something has changed, and I think that this high-profile, prominent event where someone is arrested and put into a cell and sort of interrogated for tweets, the world is seeing that this is ridiculous, that this is not the way of a free society. This is not how we need to continue. So something has changed.
I had also wondered, looking at my social media feeds, whether or not the stuff I was getting about what was happening in Britain was an echo chamber, and it couldn't have possibly been as silly or as bad as what I was watching. The Graham story kind of brings me to think, is it really that crazy there? Have they fallen that far down the hate speech rabbit hole in Britain?
Unfortunately, I think they have, and I agree with you. You almost can't believe the news that's coming out of there. When I was last on here, I mentioned there were 30 arrests a day that they were making on speech crimes, and they have fallen down the rabbit hole between the incitement, between the hate speech, between the recording of non-hate crimes based on tweets and speech. It's spiraling over there.
All right. Is there a danger of that happening here, or have we stopped the sort of hate speech law reforms that would have led us down that path?
I think the lesson is that we should never be complacent. We absolutely have pushed back against the hate speech laws. We expose the police recording of incidents, the non-hate crime incidents, but these keep rearing their heads in different ways where legislation or policy changes can be used to silence Kiwis and result in the ridiculous things that we're seeing overseas. The Online Safety Act that they brought in July is another big one over there that seems to have really pushed back on, sort of clamped down on free speech there. So I think we just need to continue to be vigilant and continue to promote freedom of speech.
All right. Law Commission submissions on hate speech. You guys got a little bit excited about them. Give me a thumbnail sketch of what happened there.
So essentially, the Law Commission came back to Paul Goldsmith with the ER Tangata report on recommendations for changing the Human Rights Act. And they recommended adding some additional prohibited characteristics into the Human Rights Act. Now, the goal to protect the dignity of all parties is completely laudable, but we believe the recommendations would instead just absolutely stifle the free speech of ordinary New Zealanders and potentially criminalise disagreement by enforcing a particular orthodoxy into the law.
What's that orthodoxy?
It would be acknowledging the gender identity or gender expression and having that sort of on par with sex-based rights or diminishing sex-based rights. So you couldn't
say, if you're of the opinion that men can't be women, you could be compelled to say, even though you didn't think that man's a woman, and if you didn't, that would be, a breach of their human rights.